Welcome, everybody, to Minions of the Zoo. It's Tuesday, and I'm your keeper, Skep Tock, and with me I have Minions Prospero.
Hello.
The Airy Channel.
Good evening.
This is where you say hello, Harry. Sora Luna.
Hello, good evening.
Jenna.
Hello, Harry.
And Johnny Hellcat.
Hello.
It's nice to have everybody with us this evening. Harry, how was your day?
How was my day? I was writing a white paper all day. I was playing with LaTeX, which I know probably makes you happy, and nobody except you and I know what that is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wasn't going to say latex, which since that could be misconstrued. But yes, that's actually a protocol or program that I identify with, like format translation, like going XML to PDF or something.
Yeah, well, when I was doing some searches today, because I'm a little rusty, so yeah. I ended up putting in LaTeX, which is spelled the same as latex, and then comments.
Right.
And I started getting a lot of not suitable for stuff.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that latex looks pretty good.
She-mail latex extravaganza. Party on, Garth.
Yeah, that was my day.
All right, so that was your day. It sounds exceptional. I probably would like to read your white paper, and you probably can't let me. But anyway.
No, I can, actually. It's fine. I don't care.
Cool.
Yeah, just don't read the red book.
Yeah, that's right. No red books.
Prospero, how you doing this evening?
Doing well, thank you. Got a lot done today. Yeah, pleased by that. Just about at the point that all I have to do is pack, and then we're out of here. Woohoo! Not pack to move, but pack to go on vacation. Yay!
Change the scene and
hallelujah! Fucking Luya!
All right, sounds good. Sora, how are you doing?
I'm doing very good, thank you. I'm doing very well. There we go.
Good day today.
I did. I can't really complain. We had some rain the other day, so that made things so much nicer and bearable, and I'm very thankful for that.
It's wonderful. I like to hear good things happening to the best Romanian speaker on probably Minions, really. If you think about it, I mean. So there you go. Anyway, Jenna, what do you know? What good things have happened to you, hon?
I was going to say, I know a lot.
I know you do.
My boys are still lifeguarding. I did a lot of stuff with my sister today, and my mom survived her surgery. Woohoo!
That's something. What a great country we live in that you can have that surgery. We'll be talking about one where you can't in just a moment. But before that, Johnny Hellcat is here this evening, and I'm very pleased about that. Johnny, what'd you do today? Anything interesting?
Well, we finished what's called it's like a training thing for my job, and I found out that I failed. So that puts me in 4 more weeks of review. But fortunately, it's from how it was explained to me, it's probably good that you did it now when it wouldn't count against you than afterwards when it would. So it's not really all that. I mean, it's kind of downer, but yeah, it's a positive aspect of a negative thought. So
it's everything's a learning experience, right?
Yeah.
All right, I feel you. Suddenly a blind press showed up, and the dais is a little bit crowded this evening. Blind press, how are you doing?
Sorry about that.
No worries.
I didn't mean to be so late.
So
how is everyone?
Oh, we're doing fine. I'm actually gonna run through some thoughts here in just a minute, kind of a monologue type thing about what's going on in Afghanistan, and then throw it out there for open discussion. And just as always with my show, wherever the discussion leads us is where the discussion leads us. And so, well, anyway, welcome all. Welcome, talkers. I wanted to talk about the epic shit show that has occurred in Afghanistan at the hands of President Biden. You know, it's been 20 years. I think I looked it up, and I think we went into Afghanistan the first time in November of 2001. And so almost 20 years after we intervened in Afghanistan with the sole goal of removing the Taliban from power, the Taliban's stunning reconquest of the country kind of reached this strange denouement on Sunday. And the Taliban fighters entered Kabul, and President Asshole Ghani left the country. And the Biden administration was calling this a success. It was a stunning tragedy. This is a stunning tragedy that is unfolding, and it's still unfolding. It's going to unfold for a while in Afghanistan. It's on a scale like nothing we've ever seen. The cities, ultimately, Kabul, the capital, fell like dominoes to the Taliban, and we've all seen the images of Afghans, flooding into the Kabul airport. They're desperate to leave their country. They're trying to hitch a ride on the outside of the planes and falling off the planes. Those are images that will endure the way the images from Vietnam, from the final goodbye in Vietnam. It's almost the same image. And there's plenty of blame to go around because, everybody's going to spend a lot of time trying to understand what went wrong after we get through the blizzard of denials that nothing went wrong from assholes like Jen Psaki. I can't even be nice about this. Donald Trump negotiated what I consider to be a feckless deal, a shitty deal with the Taliban, but at least it was a deal. Biden insists on an unconditional withdrawal with this artificial August 31 deadline, and that meant that the Taliban had no incentive to talk peace. President Ghani's government and his military leaders failed to lead the Afghan security forces, and the part of the reason that they collapsed, in my opinion, had to do with the rapidity of the American withdrawal that's been going on this summer. That meant that the rug was pulled out from under the Afghan security forces. Those guys depended heavily on U.S. intelligence, on their air support, on logistics, on a host of things to be functional at all. And so Biden talking about, 300,000 crack trained troops. It's a large army. No. It's a ragtag bunch that the moment the Americans are gone, they are instantly for sale to the highest bidder, and all they want to do is not get killed. So, there's other shit going on. The influence of some of Afghanistan's unhealthy neighbors, and what is clear is the day after the fall of Kabul is that the world has collectively failed, in my opinion, the Afghan people. Biden, when he was on the campaign trail, promised a responsible withdrawal. I remember him saying this, to be orderly, to be responsible. And he's reiterated that as president. And then he pulls this shit. Throughout the weekend, I looked for a word of reassurance to the Afghan people from Joe Biden. Nothing. Beyond trying to help those who had worked directly with the U.S., there was absolutely nothing. There's not any mention of humanitarian support, nothing. The Afghan people have been abandoned to an unknown but definitely shitty fate, and they will be ruled by the creeps, the cretins who terrorized them before we came. This is a disaster. It's a humanitarian disaster. It's a political disaster. It's a disaster, and it's going to cost everybody a hell of a lot of money. And a lot of people are going to be murdered and tortured to death. This is just as bad. This is what happens when you don't have a president. We literally don't have a president. So anyway, all these happy topics to talk about. I'm sorry, it's just this was too important to avoid, and I thought we'd just get this done, this stream. But you guys, I respect your opinions. I want to hear what you think about this. If you think I'm full of shit, let me know. Floor's open.
I would just like to say that as somebody whose country had a lot of their people in there trying to help, the U.S.'s withdrawal has fucked the safety of especially the Afghani people, but also the safety of every other allied country that the U.S. fucking bullied and badgered into coming to help them.
That's right. Jen Psaki would not even say that that they're going to try and get the Americans out. If they leave Americans there, those Americans will be killed.
I heard the acting ambassador to the U.S. has fled the country something like last weekend. And the UK ambassador is still there trying to get UK
people out. Yeah. Yeah. That's about par for the course.
My Justin Trudeau, when he made his election campaign announcement, also announced on Sunday, I think when they just before they got to Kabul, he pulled he instructed our people in our embassy to come home. And he also made an announcement, and I'm sure that we will be adding to the number of people that will be taking in. But he's announced that we'll be taking in, I think he said something, we'll be resettling 20,000 Afghani people, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
In an effort to, and I think Trudeau's a piece of shit, but we need to help get these people.
He'll be politically forced to do the right thing.
This is a refugee crisis. This here that's happening right now.
Oh yeah.
We need to get no matter who's in charge right now, whether you agree with them or not, we need to get as many innocent people as we can.
Well, just to let everybody know what the scale of that problem is. There are roughly 85,000 people who worked with the United States who are known collaborators and are marked for death by the Taliban. We have gotten about 1,000,
Translated.
1,000 or 2,000 of them out of the country.
Yeah.
And we owe those people. And they will not be, many of them will just be shot or stoned to death or whatever the hell these maniacs do. But many of them will be tortured because they might know something, and otherwise just sadistically tortured to show, pour encourager les autres, as they say, to encourage the others not to cooperate ever with the United States. And Biden has no clue, no plan. He doesn't even really know what's going on. He's just a bumbling idiot eating ice cream, as far as I can tell. I don't know. What does anybody else think?
Well, he gave his speech and then went back to Camp David. He's
Is
still
that
on
where he's been?
vacation.
Yes.
Yeah, he was at
So-
Camp David. There was a lid put on, so no press, and then
Harry.
finally he had to come and say something, and he didn't even go in he literally gave his, I wouldn't call it a speech, I'd call it
Canned ham.
I was gonna say a houseplant talking.
Yeah.
That's
And
an insult to
then,
houseplants.
okay, a fake houseplant talking.
I was likening to a can of Spam, Jenna. I think that
Well,
ge-
yeah, but
gelatinous
that's an insult
and-
to spam.
no, it's a tough call there.
So could we call it a garden speech because that's where the vegetable was?
But
Yeah,
yeah,
I-
he got back up and went back to Camp David.
Well, that's probably because they were trying to detox him, and then this got out of hand to the point that they had to load him up again to come in and go ba 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 ba, and then they hustle him out without questions. Can you imagine not taking questions with a scenario like this? It was
No.
it's just unfucking believable that the so-called
didn't take
leader of the
questions?
free world. No, he
No,
did
he
not.
He
He got up. He got
shit.
up, read his statement, and left. And as the
my
questions were shouted
God.
at his back.
Yeah.
So what's gonna happen when Joe gets so blind he can't read the teleprompter anymore?
Well, maybe this is one of the excuses they're going to use to remove Joe, because they're losing some of the press on this one. I think they're trying as hard as they can to stay out in front of it. The
CNN and WAPO are after their asses.
yeah, no shit.
Well, considering that CNN just had one of their own executed on Monday, I would say
That was a
What?
fake tweet, by the way.
Yeah,
Was it
Yeah,
really?
I don't think that really happens.
Yeah, it turned out to be a fake tweet.
That CNN Afghanistan.
Yeah, that's
Twitter
CNN,
handle?
Afghanistan, Twitter. Yes.
Holy shit! Really?
Yeah, in fact, that
Yeah.
account got removed.
Good.
Yeah.
'Cause that's not.
It was a guy
something-
from Wings of Redemption whose picture
Oh
they were
my
showing.
God.
Isn't that hilarious? Isn't that fucking hilarious?
That's if and
Can't
but
even.
see that's the thing. It's like this is why we like, and I'm not particularly for removing people, but if you're gonna make shit up like this at a time like this, you can get fucked.
I'm like, there's jokes, and then there's that.
Well,
That's a bit too far.
yeah, the epic troll. I mean, probably the best troll I saw, if you were going to look for somebody who was trolling effectively on this, was Count Dankula. He was doing an effective job trolling people.
Yeah.
Well, he's the troll master general
Well,
of
but-
the internet,
And he was
as far as
Count-
I'm concerned.
And he was Count Countatola
Yeah.
Dankula, and he was calling everybody Habibi. And it was the people that fell for it were hilarious, because I mean they were just absolutely irate, and there were so many comments. Like one of the early comments in it was Dank's lawyer right now, showing a guy rubbing his eyes, and all the giveaways that maybe you should stop screaming in rage at this dude and check his handle. Just go look at who you're dealing with here.
And then if you did any sort of 2 seconds of research and looked at the Twitter feed, you would actually see his real response on his YouTube channel tweeted out, because he made a fucking video.
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus Christ.
What is this? What is this proof you speak of?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Nice.
Twitter's been a shit show. I mean, it always is, but it's just been pretty epic, because the Blue Anon machine is beating the drum that it's all Trump's fault. Well, yeah, and no.
This is 95% good news and 5% bad, and the 5% bad is all because of Orange Man.
Well, actually
That's actually
they're trying to make the 95% about Orange Man, which is no, you don't understand. The Taliban had a couple months after Biden changed the date to really get their gears going.
And they did.
And they did. And Trump had said, we do not know. There's no way. This is all if. He had said, you violate the deal, we're coming to your house. Now, I don't know if that means he was going to, what he was going to do to avoid escalating military response, which, of course, would have been appropriate when you make a deal like this. If the Taliban had twitched, and then what we should have probably done is withdraw all civilian personnel, allied and U.S., from Afghanistan and let it be a military drawdown. We didn't need to have any of the other people there. We could have said, everybody meet at the airport. There are going to be transport planes in and out for the next 72 hours, hauling your asses out. Then we get the interpreters and stuff out, and then we draw down the troops.
Yeah.
But you draw down the troops, and then you leave everybody else undefended, and we're leaving our own goddamn people with this pledge that the Afghan Taliban isn't going to do anything to them when they try with no protection at all to make their way to the fucking airport. Jesus. I mean, what
weren't they told to shelter in place?
Well, that now they're being told they can go to the airport and they'll be evacuated, but no security can be provided for them to the airport. We should have insisted that embassy and all the personnel get the fuck out of there well before now. What were they doing?
Well, the problem with doing that, probably from their point of view, was what will it look like if the embassy gets evacuated? And they didn't want to send a signal like that, both to the Afghans and to the U.S. military and U.S. civilian support group who were there in Kabul.
Well, how about drawing down your embassy staffs?
Yeah, that would have made a lot of sense.
To the point that
you skeleton crew.
You can have a protective detail handle the others and getting them to the airport when your fucking embassy falls like it's doing anyway.
Right.
I mean, this has all become everything.
After only 19 years, they couldn't make the roads safe enough to drive to the airport from the embassy. They had to use a helicopter. Any questions?
Yeah, it was. Everything is bass backwards, okay? It's all bass backwards. But hey, General Milley's eye's on the ball on White Rage, right? We've got his eye on the ball on that. And we've got a bunch of other assholes talking about not knowing whether they can secure Americans, much less any other foreign national.
One of the other assholes who's advising dynamic president and fearless leader Biden, Ice Cream Boy, is a guy named Jacob Jeremiah Sullivan.
Dipshit.
He was born in 1976. He's about 45 years old, and he's never had an honest job. He went to, I think, Yale, and then he went straight to Oxford for where I don't think he got a PhD there, but he studied there for a while. Then he came back, went to law school, and got his Juris Doctor, clerked for a while for somebody, and then immediately went into government service. He has never seen what outside of government looks like, outside university, outside government, and he's the National Security Advisor.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Well, there's
a 44-year-old child who has never had a job is the goddamn National Security Advisor. Really?
Yeah.
Think about some of the people who have been National Security Advisors in the past. They're distinguished careers in intelligence and diplomacy and stuff. They know the stuff inside out.
So he's Mike Brown with less education.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the equivalent of Mike Brown.
We have a couple of people up here who I think should be, who should have been, appointed or chosen for positions like that, and instead we get, like you've just described, desk writing, fucking academics.
Yeah.
And some of your financial advisors are just complete jokes. Blind press.
Oh yeah. And
I worked in a bank in high school, okay.
I was
I
a teller.
had a bank account in high school.
Yeah.
But then we've got people like Senator Romeo Dallaire, who should not be a senator. He should be I think he should be like the Minister for Defense. But for those of you who are going, who the hell is Romeo Dallaire? He was I think he was a commander at the time of Rwanda. But he worked with the Canadian detachment who was trying to help the UN when the Rwandan genocide was going on.
Yeah.
And he
has practical
personally
experience.
He personally oversaw trying to get some refugees to safety. And he's also done some work. I believe he worked with some of the Serbian issues as well in the 90s. So we should be tapping this information. Like American government officials should be going to their, actual military people. Canadian government should be going to actual military advisors, not some fucking paper pusher who knows nothing about combat and nothing about
or logistics. Simple logistics. Yeah,
it's so frustrating.
It is here because we have once again, because we're dealing with a lot of Obama retreads, or at least the mentality is, I don't know. At this point, we've got an admixture of the Carter administration, the Clinton. Now, be a good boy, as we treated all the terrorists to ice cream ourselves in the 90s. And this bumbling nonsense that we have going on here, which reminds me of...
It's rudderless.
Well, it's utterly rudderless, and it reminds me of the slapdash nonsense we saw under the Obama administration with the Arab Spring and that kind of thing. And I mean, so we have a fortified president and his fortified withdrawal, which is anything but fortified. The funny thing is that if you've got to close the door and lock it and leave and don't want to be killed on your way out, backing out on a country, you've got to maintain the firepower to do so. And we didn't. And you could probably...
We had no plan. This thing was not planned.
No.
Prospero. I've been in military operations. I have been a part of military operations that were fucking planned. Yeah. And it was back in the day when planning actually happened. This was not planned. This was a bunch of different factions with different agendas who were not coordinating with one another, and the thing just went to shit.
Well, you've got the military doing its internal purge of anybody who might have said anything complimentary about the Orange Man. And as a result, you've got them turning on each other. And then you have all these atomized little butt sniffers roaming around the halls of power in D.C., trying to leverage themselves as the next expert on something. And there isn't a single... There are people who work logistics for Allied van lines who could have done a better job.
Yeah.
Katie Holmes's father could have done a better job. He got Katie Holmes away from the Church of Scientology. That was like practically an extraction. Just 1/10 of that experience would have worked fine.
That's
a great point.
Hard though. How do you extract a military force from a hostile environment?
Oh,
and I think what Trump was trying to do was make it not be a hostile environment. He was talking about having the Taliban come to Camp David. One thing Trump excelled at was treating his enemies as something, maybe not equals, but at least like people.
Business
and
partners.
Trying to find the common interest that everybody shared. That's the
That's-
Trump system.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Trump went to the Taliban and said, "Look, I've got money, and you want a country, and I want to get out of your country. So there's a certain community of interest here. Here's what I propose." And the Taliban was pretty down with what he said. The problem was there are other factions other than the Taliban, the warlords, the Mujahideen. There's a lot of moving parts in there that Trump never addressed because he never thought to address it. He thought he had to work with the Taliban because he considered their victory to be almost a fait accompli. He didn't take these other groups into account, and that's why his plan would not have worked, in my opinion, because it would have collapsed on account of all the people who didn't get paid off.
Yeah.
And so
the Afghan National Army in particular.
This thing was going to be a shit show almost no matter what. But what Biden didn't do was analyze that and say, no, here are the bases that we have to cover. And if we have to cover it with money to keep our people safe, then we'll cover it with money with people to keep our people safe. But Biden's his mind short-circuited, in my opinion. He said, I just want out. August 31st, that's it. And he's enjoying that kind of feeling of autocratic power that a lot of presidents feel. Obama felt it in his first year.
You get the cameras in front of him. Get the cameras in front of him.
Imperial declaration.
And it's Monkey described Biden's decision on this withdrawal as a fucking photo op, where he shot his mouth off, and then instead of saying I spoke too soon or anything else, which would yes, he would have been dragged by some people for saying that, but if you said upon further consideration, but it was everything that Trump touched, they had to undo. They couldn't abide by anything he left behind. And they gave no thought whatsoever to the consequences of that. And they were told immediately when they changed the deal. They didn't change they just unilaterally made a statement without contacting the Taliban, without seeing them as any kind of a partner, anything like that.
Exactly.
And the Taliban said, okay, motherfuckers. And they were like, oh, yeah, well, this isn't going to be a problem. In July, that dipshit can of spam that we have as a president stood up and said, this isn't going to be like Saigon. No, this is going to be on fucking TikTok.
Okay, hold on. This is exactly what I was trying to get to. The thing that did change, maybe the outcome would have been the same. But the thing that did change was that he decided unilaterally that he was just going to decide, the date that we sort of agreed on, we're not going to follow that date. So maybe if they had pulled out on the date that Trump had arranged to pull out on, it would have gone great. Maybe it would have gone just as badly as it did now. But I can't help but think that unilateral action, that dismissiveness toward the Taliban, that disregard that he had for the agreement, may have made things a lot worse than they would have been otherwise.
I would posit that I would say you're probably about 99% right. I would be willing to bet pretty much everything I have, because there's something about certain cultures, right? Well, any human, when you make a deal with them and go back on it, that pisses them off, right? But there are certain cultures in the world that really focus on that. You put your word out there, and now you've gone back on it, right? That first of all, that doesn't make the country of the U.S. look good at all. To make a deal, and then when a new president comes along, to just be like, you know that deal that we made in good faith? Yeah, no. Right? Like, that just makes the US look like shit anyway. But it's that, like, even when you're dealing with terrorist groups, right? Bad guys still have, like, they may be bad people, right? And they may be sadistic and just whatever. We all agree on that. Bad guys still have a code, right? And you have to understand that code if you want to get anything accomplished.
Honor among thieves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have
And
a
when
question
you-
for Skep when you're done.
I
And
believe
when you go back on, if you figure out that code and then you renege on it, you've now fucked yourself.
Okay.
I
You're
believe the
absolutely right,
Italians
but
call
there's
them
something
rats.
we have to think about here. I think we should think about it. So, Skep, on the one hand, these people want to rule a 21st century country, and they understand that there are certain things that are to their advantage in terms of how they conduct themselves running a 21st century country.
Are you talking
On
about
the other hand, we have...
Are you talking about the Taliban?
I'm talking about the Taliban. And on
Okay,
the
go.
other hand, we have more than a little bit of precedent in the Quran, which says it is perfectly okay to screw people over and you don't have to stick with agreements with non-Muslims.
Right.
So where on that spectrum between we can screw you over and maybe we need to act a certain way because we will have relations with other countries at some point, do you think they would have fallen if we'd kept that original agreement?
If they had stuck with the, I actually tend to think that, and that's why I called that Trump's original agreement feckless, was because in negotiating only with the Taliban and leaving, a lot of people in Afghanistan out of the money, the only thing that gets people to do anything in Afghanistan is the threat of violence and money.
Yeah.
And you can only rent an Afghan, and you have to pay him constantly. And even then he might turn on you. They were telling the story of an interpreter who had been with a platoon, and he'd been with them for like a year on operations after operation. He went out with them. He was their friend, camped with them, everything else. Turned out he was in a Pakistani cell and had betrayed them and got them to drive over a mine that killed one of the American soldiers and wounded 4 others. One guy lost his legs, and he was considered to be a hero by the Afghans because basically you have culturally a taciturn, angry bunch of people who are rigid and detest outsiders. That's the one cultural thing that runs all the way through Afghanistan. So with that as background, okay, if they'd stuck with the original agreement, you would have at least had the Taliban having an interest in getting their money, basically. And so you would have had a lever on the Taliban, and the Taliban could have used force to maybe against some of the more rebellious warlords, which was basically what Afghanistan had reverted to. And with warlords, ruling different areas of the country. Well, what the Taliban did was come in and just threaten, we're going to kill everybody here unless you let us rule you. Okay, that's fine. So would it have been different? It would have been, it could have had the Taliban as more of a stabilizing force than an independent, fuck you, get out of here, The Taliban wants us out. That's the only good news. The only good news in any of this is that the Taliban wants us out. And they might even cooperate a little bit with us to let us get some of our people out. But when it comes to getting collaborators out, those guys are screwed.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
I think that was going to happen no matter which way. So, I would it have been the same? No, it would have been different. You would have at least had the Taliban as a force to try and make your plan go through. But as it stands now, the Taliban, they're probably, even within the Taliban, there's ambivalence about doing anything with the Americans, frankly.
I have a quick follow-up.
Yeah.
Monkey, the other day, I think it was maybe yesterday, said the first time he said something that I absolutely, completely disagree with. I think he's 180 degrees wrong.
What did he say?
Said that it was wrong that we should get our people out first and not focus on getting the people out who helped us. And in my opinion,
Bullshit.
if we ever want anybody,
wait. Did he really say that?
I may have misheard, but that's what I thought he said last night.
Okay.
Oh, I
And in
well,
my
wasn't saying
opinion,
bullshit.
it is absolutely wrong. What you do is you take care of the
Okay.
people who helped you first, because the people that we have trained in our military can take care of themselves.
okay.
And they can
All right,
extract
okay,
themselves
all right.
under hostile circumstances.
I
thought
want
that was
to
shocking.
answer that. I want to answer that. First of all, want to be very careful when we attribute something to, a revered elder, but anybody really, and characterizing what they said. But let's just take monkey out of it and take the concept that you put forward. The idea that Americans who have gone into harm's way to serve America should take a back seat to people who want to emigrate to America is hatefully foolish for so many reasons. First of all, with an example like that, how are you going to get good people to volunteer to go serve in difficult places like that?
Never will.
That's
Yeah.
never going to happen. Okay? It's going to handicap you 6 ways to Sunday. Secondly, just from a moral standpoint,
It's indefensible.
the idea, it is. It
Sorry,
almost
but it's
defies my ability to put it
It's
into
indefensible.
words.
I understand the anger that might drive people to react that way initially. That's the leeway that I'll give because of the disgrace and the dishonor of making bargains with people and promising them something and not following through on it, particularly when it is their lives that are at stake.
Yeah.
But there is always an order of duty. And the order of duty is to the Americans to get our people out first. It can sound very heartless to people who are like, yeah, but what about the Canadians or what about the Brits or what about it? Yeah, I know, I'm sorry. But I think there was something screw with you guys if you were in the same position.
That
No,
means
I-
great
I
tactical
you
used to
have-
always-
but it doesn't make good strategic sense.
No.
That's my argument.
It does. It's
Well, the short-term and long-term effects, both. I think from
try to get
in-
both objectives reached.
Well, I think it cuts actually against short-term and long-term effects. Long-term, it's demoralizing, and short-term, what the hell are you doing to American military and civilian people who have gone over to serve their country in the most difficult place on earth?
You're Benghaziing them.
God damn,
Yeah.
right you are. That's the same attitude
Yeah.
that created Benghazi.
Yeah, fuck
As-
those guys. They're just
as a-
contractors. Fuck them.
As
Yeah.
a Canadian, I would say that I would hope that we all got our own people out, because that's what needs to happen, right? We need to take care, like Americans need to get their people out, right? Military, and we need to get our, civilian and whatever people out, right? But when that's done, if we can somehow, we then need to open our doors to the people that are like to the Afghani people that helped us.
That are known to us and that we can
We
confirm
need
are
to-
not double
yeah,
agents.
terrorists.
We
Yeah.
need to if we need to vet them,
Oh
obviously.
shit, yes.
But if once they have been vetted, if we can help them, we need to do so.
Yeah, and watch.
But we do need to get our personnel home first.
Yeah.
Okay, did you guys see the news tonight that 1,000 Afghanis were taken one of the big military planes?
Yeah, we knew
And
that
they're
they
planning
we-
on doing 900 a day. Afghanistan
For the next
people,
3 months?
until August 31st. After August 31st, any American or Afghani in the Afghanistan is not our problem, says Jen Psaki.
Yeah, that's the problem, the Jen, because that the number of Afghanis that helped us are far more than that number will cover.
Oh, I know.
And
I
that's
understand that.
and we've got an awful lot of people there ourselves.
We have a ton of people there that we need
And
to
they
get out.
yeah, and we also have the problem with them having some weaponry that is going to be we're going to have to be really, really careful.
That's the
It's
other scary part.
It's a
Yeah.
dangerous. It's a double-edged sword.
It's
We
actually
wanna-
a completely unstable situation is what it is. Anything at this moment could happen.
We've got
Yeah.
a house of cards built on top of rotten bananas built on top of
Liquefied soil.
liquefied
Yeah.
soil.
It's a mess.
And there's an earthquake and
There's an earthquake. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an epic
Okay.
shit
It was
show.
built by the
If you-
Fukushima plant.
I just wanted, I was just wondering your thoughts on the new plan of 1,000 today and then 900.
That's
the
gonna
next
equal 9,000
few weeks.
people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not
But
going to it's going to leave
it's-
75,000 people behind. You think about that.
Well, also, and I understand is these people haven't been vetted and all that.
Mm. It's
don't
just
have
been
time
like
to-
everybody pile onto the plane, hurry up. It's
Yeah,
kinda-
if you want out, they seem to be letting you out.
Yeah, and that's the problem. We don't
And
there's no
and
order
that-
to the vetting.
we need to
I'm
Well,
sure they're all good fellows.
And you know
Yeah.
what pisses me off about all of this also is that, people like countries like Canada, we're going to be accepting, 20,000 refugees and possibly more. But how, people like countries like Canada who do like quote unquote peacekeeping stuff, are we going to be called upon to be sent back into this bullshit?
Hopefully
like-
not.
And everyone's sitting here going, no, this is Trump's fault. Oh, this is Biden's fault. Oh, this is Trump's fault. Why is nobody yelling about what Bush did? Why
'Cause
is
it's
what
Old news.
Yeah.
It's funny how you mentioned that because I was just wondering, with as softball as the press has been over the last watch 12 years. I really wonder if anyone would have the balls to interview Donald Rumsfeld about this.
Right?
Well, they can't now.
Oh, that's true.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I mean, like,
Yeah, I suppose.
how is nobody going Hey, hey W. Thanks, asshole. Right? You know, like, why is nobody doing that?
Well,
Well, Cheney's still alive. You can get him.
So is W. Go after Cheney and W. Like, be actual journalists and
I would say go after Cheney, but he's too busy fly fishing over in West Missoula.
is he trying to
You know-
hook another lawyer? He shot one. Is he trying to catch one on a fishing rod this time?
Yeah, he had the wrong
His
load in his gun for
daughter-
catching that guy.
If at first you don't succeed. No, he normally fly fishes up here
Oh God!
regularly, and so yeah, they'll pull state troopers off the highway for
Of course they will.
guard duty for him. So
I'm sure it's very nice.
We should find out when he's going fishing and just not get close enough for the state troopers to do anything, but just shout from the road.
Yeah.
This
You
is
know,
all
one-
your fault,
one of-
asshole.
One of the things we haven't talked about is the follow-on effect that is going to happen. I mentioned it a little bit in my remarks, kind of a side remark, and that is the fact that Al Qaeda has done a double lip lock onto the Taliban, like you read about. And they want to do business with the Taliban, and the Taliban wants to do business with anybody who has money. And that would be Al Qaeda. So we can confidently predict the reconstitution of, an ISIL or ISIS type
Yep.
of nonsense, thanks to via Al Qaeda, that will absolutely be a base for terror everywhere. They are going to have terror training camps in Afghanistan. I wouldn't be surprised. I would. Here's your long shot chance right here, guys. I wouldn't be surprised if Biden ends up having to do, because he's facing just such a humanitarian shit show, if he ends up having to put in 10 or 20,000 American troops back in country to finish getting people out before this is all done.
oh, there's a military contractor's wet dream.
Yeah. Oh my God.
You know,
Plenty good
that's
money to be made selling the army the tools of the trade.
that's one of the things that. Oh God, nothing's off the table with the potato, right?
Right.
Because these guys are so incompetent,
Yep.
and they're so hooked into that neocon, neo-lib military-industrial complex butt-sniffing chain.
Yep.
There is
But
no.
now you're going to have terrorists with Stinger missiles.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Shipping them over to Great
And
Britain.
an open
Yeah,
border.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
an
exactly.
open southern fucking border where
Right.
they can just blend right in with the population, because after all brown people are alike and good according to common.
Bring your shoulder fired Stingers over to Heathrow and have a little target practice. That shit's going to happen. You watch and see.
Well,
Watch and shit. The following effects of this is going to be disastrous, and it'll be for years.
it's not just that. It's the whole Middle East is basically fucked now. And
Kind of always
not only-
was.
Well, it always was, but now it's like the U.S. or Biden was basically like, "Here, let me help.
Yeah, we've given him a leg up.
Let me help you make this worse." And not only is this going to be made worse, but like you just said, that they now have access to. There's no way. The people, the militaries that came in to help are going to be able to get all of their equipment out.
And
Okay,
yeah.
so
They're supposed to burn it.
we've just handed them a whole bunch of equipment and left a Western trained bunch of people to be bought.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've given them weapons, basically. We've given them personnel that have been trained in our tactics.
They have more Black Hawk helicopters than any country on Earth other than the United States.
This
Jesus.
this is frightening. Like they now have access. They will have access to the remaining military equipment, and they will be able to buy and pay for, or go, hey, do you not want to die? Come and work for us now. To the however many hundreds of thousands of American and Canadian military trained Afghani people.
Yeah.
So we've handed them equipment and personnel.
Yeah, they're going to say to the Mujahideen, "Hold my beer."
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, well, one of the countries who is watching all this with a jaundiced eye is Israel.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Israel right now is facing a nasty bit of business up on the northeast side of the country. There, where Hezbollah, which is apparently getting money from the Saudi government. Now,
shocked.
I know. Well, you should be, because they are Hezbollah is Iranian based. That means they are Shia Muslims. They're not Sunni Muslims. Sunni Muslims and Shia Muslims think each others are apostates. They are, it's like the Hatfields and McCoys. They don't get along. They really don't.
But the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
That may be what's going on. I think it's just mischief. Basically, mischief is a hobby of the Saudi royal family. And I think they're just dabbling. Do you dabble in terrorism? Yes, I do. So they'll have something to say at the club.
Why do you think Osama bin Laden was involved with a fucking Mujahideen?
Well, yeah, he absolutely was a rich kid dabbler.
He didn't have any business in Afghanistan. The Saudis, by and large, could give two shits about what went on in Afghanistan. He just was a rich boy that wanted to have fun.
Yeah, with a messiah complex.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so Israel is sitting back, watching this, and watching the flow of money, watching the ineptitude of the United States. And one of the interesting things, I don't know if you guys know, I'm pretty active in the Israel community. I'm not Jewish, but I'm definitely a Zionist. I'm very pro-Israel. And in talking with these guys, they're sitting there watching the U.S. walk away, from a putative ally. The government of Afghanistan was at least supposed to be on our side, sort of.
Yeah.
And they're kind of going, okay, so that's the American government now. And they understand that, there are big changes from administration to administration in terms of the policy implications for the United States, because the parties are so different and so far apart. And they're I think they're feeling a little bit nervous and feeling like the Biden administration is about to say, why oh, mofo. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think you're right.
They shouldn't be surprised, considering how Obama regarded Israel. I mean, this can't come as too much of a dead surprise to them.
Oh, they're not surprised at all, Prospero.
Because the Obama administration was openly contemptuous
of Netanyahu and Israel.
Of Israel. So the fact that this would be a slightly more nuanced, possibly, because it didn't work well the last time, same kind of disregard, that should not come as a surprise to them.
I don't think Israel is surprised, but I think
they're
they
dismayed.
Are disappointed.
Yes.
And they are concerned.
I'd hope so.
I think they are going, okay, so because if you want to look at if you want to look at how much projection comes out of people like Democrats, right? They say that, Republicans and conservatives are, warmongering people who don't care about other people's rights. Well, just take a look at what's going on now because of a Democratic president. And you look at and we have Israel, who I'm sure notices the growing support for Palestine among your stupid, uneducated, quote unquote, liberal Westerner, and has, I'm sure, noticed that the United States has quite a few pro-Palestinian politicians in high places. The squad.
Yeah.
And we had, a party leader in Canada, the leader of the New Democratic Party, stand up in the House of Commons and say that we should stop arming Israel and that we should stop supporting Israel. So I think Israel is very, if I were in charge in Israel, I would be very concerned. I wouldn't be surprised because of what you said, Prospero, about, the Obama administration and their actions and lack of action against or for Israel. But I would be incredibly concerned and I would be incredibly disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that Chad is talking about Wahhabism, which is it's the Salafi movement, the very fundamentalist movement of Islam. Tends to be very militant and very my way or the highway type of thing.
Anwar al-Awlaki was their poster smear.
Yeah. It does. It did emanate from Saudi Arabia. It did not come from the big cities. If you know the origins of Wahhabism, it actually came from the countryside, and this is the kind of the country fundamentalism version of Islam, but it became very popular and.
And the Saudis fund the fuck out of it, honey.
And the Saudis absolutely fund the hell out of these madrasas, these Wahhabist madrasas that are all through Saudi Arabia.
And all through Northern Virginia.
Yes.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Anwar al-Awlaki? You remember him, right, BP?
Yes.
No, honestly.
You don't remember Anwar? We hit him with a drone strike. American citizen. We killed him without a trial.
Yeah.
And we got his son, too.
Right.
Yeah. He came out of a madrasa in Fairfax County.
Yeah.
Virginia. Yeah.
Where I went to high school.
He's a homegrown happy jihadi.
Yeah.
And
lived about 3 miles away
Major
from
Hassan,
my house.
Major Hassan down at Fort Hood. He was frequenting that crowd.
Oh yeah,
that's
who got a hold.
And the Pentagon was tired of him, so they moved his ass to Fort Hood, and he killed some people. That was really
wonderful.
Yeah, that was really nice.
He was a doctor.
Yeah, he is a doctor, but that's okay. Allahu Akbar. The population of George Mason University in Fairfax County is 1/3 Muslim.
Huh.
And this is the most populous county in Virginia. And it is parked directly beneath D.C. It
Is
is
it 1/3?
one. Yeah, last I heard, it was over 30% of the students at George Mason were Muslim, and if they are coming out of Fairfax County, they're coming out of Saudi-funded mosques in Fairfax County,
Yeah.
which are going to be Wahhabi and leaning because of those madrasas, and it's a but you can't say anything because it makes you racist.
Yep.
And although I'd like to point out that Islam is not a race,
No.
but there is a fundamental problem in that if you look at the same thing with the homegrown terrorists in Great Britain, they are either they're second generation and they're connected to the Wahhabis or to the oh crap, help me out, Skep, the Pakistani fundamentalists.
Oh shit! I know.
You know what I mean.
Sects you're talking about.
Bam.
I just can't remember the name.
Yeah, I can't remember the kind of the sect name or the that leaning name, but that's where they've been popping up.
Not to
Damn.
be a pain in the ass, but Fort Hood was attacked twice in 09 and then
Yes, I know.
by homegrown terrorists.
Yeah. Yeah, Major Hassan is the stain on there should have been a major house cleaning at the Pentagon because of that, but there wasn't.
There
Because
should have been a lot done.
Yeah, shit rolls downhill, unfortunately. They knew he was unstable. He was talking to patients he was treating about his issues.
His leanings.
Well, he was in the United States military, and the military was killing his people. Is the way he was viewing it, and it was like, they're not your people. Oh, there are my people. It's the allegiance to the religion above the allegiance to the country.
Yeah.
It's the old shit people used to bring up about Catholics.
Can I just go back to State Department Jake again?
Sure.
From way
Jake
back.
Sullivan.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
When he did his first interview after people were sent in, he said this is non-combative. And he was asked, well, they're going in with night vision and all this other stuff. How is this not? And he said, if they need to shoot, they will, but this is not anything to worry about. That's what he said. His first time talking after they tried to get the people out of the, I can't think of the word right now, the embassy.
Mm-hmm.
And he was pushed back on it by some reporters and acted like they had the audacity to speak to him. And it just pissed me off. And
Well, he's a Rhodes Scholar and a lawyer.
And doesn't apparently understand what combat is.
But he's never been outside of the government and academia bubble. He's never had to work for a living. Literally, is true.
That is, well, then he and his boss go great together.
Yeah.
Well, I know when I go on extraction missions, I take my whistling knife.
Yeah. I like to take my Swiss Army knife because then I can open, drinks as I fight off fully armed terrorists.
And write a little note to yourself.
Dear Jen,
You could
remember,
start small fires with those.
you're a good person.
Diabandi. I finally found it. BP, the Diabandi. Pakistan.
Oh, Diabandi. Okay, yeah.
That's what I was talking about.
Those are those are Sunni crazies.
Yeah,
in
it's
Pakistan. Yeah,
but it's like the Wahhabi equivalent for Pakistan.
yeah.
At least in Great Britain, the Diabandi and the Wahhabis have been the problem.
The thing about
Primarily the Diabandis.
In Pakistan, Pakistan actually has like a quarter of the Muslims are Shia. Did you know that?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that there is a sizable minority, and it's growing in Pakistan, of Shia Muslims, and they're like, Diabandi, hold my beer. We're going to show you what real fundamentalism is.
Well,
and they've gone from being rabble rousers among the Sunni ulams, to being full-fledged crazy people putting together terror cells. And they're sponsoring terror cells. They have a lot of money. That's the other thing, is the Shia tend to have a lot of money in Pakistan.
well, it's look at Iran. You know, it's a combination of woo and insane murderous cult.
Yeah.
God.
Pakistan is a mess. I mean, we could probably do a whole show on talking about the, what's going on there with, Pakistan. 1/4 of the country wants a close alliance with Iran, and 3/4 of the country want to go to war with Iran.
Yeah.
That's how fucked up. That's how fucked up Pakistan is right now.
If they keep it over there, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah,
They could flip a coin.
We never should have interrupted the Iraq-Iran conflict. I'm sorry.
Oh man,
that was a mistake. It's
let me tell you, accounts of what the battles were like would give you nightmares.
Oh, I'm absolutely certain they would, but
because these are people who think if they get killed in battle, they go to heaven. And they believe that down to the soles of their feet.
But the fascinating
virgins.
The fascinating thing, or raisins, depending on your translation.
Yeah, grapes or raisins. Yeah,
yeah. It's just imagine they get to the great beyond, and Allah hands them
inconvenient that it's the same word.
He hands them a little box of Sunkissed, and they're like, "Whoa, wait a minute! I did what for this? Yeah, surprise! You don't know how to read? Well, we are 7th century, sir.
It's okay. The raisins are old.
Yeah, and nobody ever said they were virgin females, or even virgin humans.
I didn't say that. Just
untried goats.
That's one thing about that myth, and the fighters actually don't believe that myth by and large about the 72 virgins. That's mentioned in one very pretty minor hadith. That's not in the Quran. It's mentioned one place. And there was one part of ISIL who made a big deal out of it, and that's how it got in the press. These guys think that when they go in battle, if they get killed, they are summoned into Allah's presence, and everything is tickety boo. They go to heaven, they get whatever they want, and
milk
yippee
and honey.
skippy, whatever it is, and that's a very potent motivator. The thing is that the individuals can't become very sophisticated, because once they start developing some sophistication in the way that they think, they'll think themselves out of that and say, well, maybe I'll let Billy go and die for me, and I'll be a manager and back, or a logistics guy.
I'll be a pogue.
I'll be a rear echelon motherfucker.
Yeah.
And go ahead, Jenna.
Well, I just wanted to say that Harry mentioned he wanted to talk about something a while back.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Harry.
yeah, there's a pivot here, but I wanted to let this sort of run its course before because that's not my job to take over your show. But I was thinking we might enjoy talking about the American electoral politics, political aspect of this. because we've talked about the international part of it, but I think the domestic aspect of it is going to be really interesting.
What do you think the implications are for domestic politics and the electoral outlook for the parties and the players, and how do you think this has shifted things? I'm very interested in that.
I think this is pretty huge. Okay, because let's just look at a few things. I made a joke a few days ago that the reason we were suddenly pulling out was because Joe might know that he needs to step down fairly soon once the Algernon juice runs out, and
Yes.
and that he doesn't want Kamala to be saddled with this mess.
Yes.
And I was joking, and then I thought about it, going, that actually doesn't sound entirely crazy. That's as good an explanation as any. The other thing that popped into my mind is maybe he just realized there is no winning this situation. He's just going to essentially cut his losses quickly and not put all of the money into this war that we've been putting into it, because it's cost us over $1 trillion. He's not succeeding currently in getting a lot of the tax. Well, the tax increases that he wants have not been so easy to get because of people like Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema. If he had a larger majority in the Senate, I don't think he would have to worry quite so much. But he's on such a razor's edge with all of the giveaways and infrastructure stuff that he wants to do, that the amount of money that we spend on these sorts of things could be an issue. There's also what's happening on the other side of the world. There may be he may just be much more concerned about China at this point, to the extent where this is not a place where we want to have a lot of people tied up at the moment. You also mentioned there's the whole energy aspect of it, because all of a sudden he's asking OPEC to pump more oil. Well, these high oil prices internationally are a godsend to them, because we're literally funneling huge amounts of money to them in the form of higher oil prices.
Absolutely.
Which goes to finance all this other stuff. They'll have plenty of money to buy the weapons that we left behind. And finally, there's this debacle. Because if you had somebody really competent in charge of Republican messaging, how would you use what's happening right now? Because we have really vivid imagery that we can use. So you could either try to make a play toward people's emotions, but those don't tend to last quite as long. People seem to sort of forget and move on to the next outrage, right?
Right.
So I don't know if that's going to have enough legs that it's going to make it all the way to 2022, or certainly 2024. But I do think that you can use something like this to make the following type of argument. You can say, sorry, something's vibrating weirdly on my desk. You can say that if Joe approached this sort of thing in the way that he did, why do you think we should trust him to improve on capitalism? Why do you think he's going to be able to build back better? He couldn't even pull out of a country in an orderly fashion. What makes you think he can improve on the American economy? And that would be a great rhetorical point for politics, if you had somebody competent and disciplined enough. My fear is that
I'm concerned that you're expecting way too much.
I know. I'm saying they could do that. I think they're going to smell red meat, and they're going to just blow all this capital far too early and inefficiently, and then they won't have anything left for the argument later. People will just not want to hear about it anymore.
You're not wrong.
So yeah, that was about 5 things. Sorry.
I agree with every bit of it.
I think there might, unfortunately, because of how badly this is all going, I think there might be so much conflict going on over there for quite a while. And I think if we have any intelligent Republicans left, that's a big if, they will use they will say, look, like Harry was saying, look at what Joe did. Do you want this incompetence leading you? Do you want this? Do you want America to be known, like, continued to be known as the country that goes in and just completely fucks up other countries, and then, like, in an attempt to save them and then leave. And then throws them into more strife. Like, because that's not a good image.
It would require the Republicans to admit that they have been wrong.
Yes, it would.
Because it would require them to take a look at what our post 9/11 strategy was,
Yes.
what their role was in it,
Yes.
what their president was in it, and be honest.
You're asking the impossible.
And they will not do that. Now,
Right.
somebody like Rand Paul would do that because
Not really a Republican.
he's not really a
Even
Republican.
though he caucuses with them.
He's libertarian light in that he's not fully engaged in getting into the nonsensical debates that have given too many national libertarians the name libertarian.
Yeah.
He's not a sophist like so many of them tend
Yes.
to be, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well
It's
said. Sophist,
perfect.
perfect
He's
term.
not the Bill Clinton of libertarianism.
No.
And that man was a sophist. It means in the word meaning the word is. I mean, fuck's sake, dude. But very few are. They're all still true blue. They're not going to chuck W under the bus. They're
W's a good Democrat now, anyway.
Yeah, he
They're
really
They're
is.
not going to say, yeah, Bush said you're either with us or against us, and that was wrong.
Well, and also there was a failure to define mission.
Yeah.
I mean, there always was from the beginning. And while we're on the subject of this, if they were to honestly approach this, we could have a very constructive discussion about the danger of the power of the executive with the War Powers Act and the fact that none of these wars were ever declared. And it's fucking nuts, okay?
Yeah.
It's absolutely nuts that for 20 years we have been fapping around in the cesspits of the world with no defined mission.
Yeah.
Now, Congress doesn't want the dirt on their hands, so they're perfectly fine to heckle from the sidelines about how awful it is that the president has these capabilities. And we understand why in certain states of emergency that they would be required, but that there was never any congressional action. And you could make a very principled case for this, but it requires throwing both Team Red and Team Blue under the bus.
Yep.
And nobody wants to do that because subtlety.
I
want to do it too, but the subtlety is lost on the American people because they have a soundbite mentality.
Yeah.
Can
And-
I
Well, they
just
have
say
a
what I
meme-
think
a
the
meme
mission
level
should
of
have been
attention.
after 9/11?
I'm sorry, Jenna. What?
What she said, she'd like to say what the mission
my
should
friend.
have been after 9/11. Go ahead, Jen.
Go in, kill the guy, get the fuck out.
Oh, yeah. Colonel Ralph Peters a number of years ago made the comment that it's a game of whack-a-mole. Terrorist cells rise up and you have to go eradicate them, but you don't stay.
No.
And so it's a game of whack-a-mole.
Well, I meant
They hit, you hit back harder. They hit, you hit back harder. I mean, it's like the Chicago way in The Untouchables.
But I
It's-
meant Bin Laden. They should
Yeah,
just
well,
go
the
in.
Pakistanis were hiding him.
Well, here's what was going on. We went into Afghanistan to go get Osama bin Laden. Bin Laden had lit out for Pakistan, and you're absolutely right. What we should have done was, we're going to get the hell out of Afghanistan now because bin Laden isn't there, and we'll go chase him wherever he is. But we didn't. We said no. We're going to fix Afghanistan.
But it's
And
not our. We
I know
who are
it's
we
not. It
to
shouldn't
fix?
be our job. It shouldn't be our job. And
Humanitarian missions are not made for the military, okay? I mean,
it's
No.
one of the only things that that I agree with George Will about is that statecraft as soulcraft is always doomed to failure. If
Yeah.
you try and change the culture and national character of a place by sheer muscle, you will fail every single time.
It's
here,
also
do you
not
have a
our
moment to
right.
listen about my God, Adam Smith? I mean, come on.
Yeah,
Nobody's interested in that shit. You're also not going to introduce complex concepts like democracy to Stone Age cultures.
No.
They don't grasp it.
And
They-
it's not our place.
But we've got this whole noble savage thing combined with evangelizing for democracy.
Someone say savage.
Yes, it's time for you to go woo 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 or whatever it is
Was it
y'all
noble
do.
or savage that got your attention?
you savage.
But it is just this evangelical zeal
Mhm.
that neocons and neolibs have. That's their excuse for breaking things, killing a lot of people, spending a lot of money, and not getting anything done.
Yeah.
The best way to defend democracy is to have a strong and robust defense and to beat the shit out of anybody that does anything to you and leave. You just go wreck all their shit and leave.
Yes.
I've seen a number of people say, what on earth would Eisenhower, Bradley, and Patton think of this?
Oh my god.
And I was like, well, their mission would have been to go in and completely fuck Afghanistan
Yep.
and then leave. It would have been, that was our job, right? We were supposed to go fuck them. We've done that. And now we find out that somebody else is doing their dirty work, aka Pakistan, hiding bin Laden. We're going to go fuck them.
Yep.
And we have
And we did it.
the technology. No kidding, because we decided we had to save the girls and build schools and create infrastructure around a bunch of sheep herders. This is a
Yes,
great idea. Stone Age sheep herders who still,
Bronze
who
Age. But yeah.
okay, Bronze Age sheep herders who let their goats sleep in caves and keep their daughters outside. These are not people that are going, and I'm sorry, all cultures are not beautiful, nor are they all sophisticated enough to grasp something. Democracy.
Sometimes they're just shitholes.
The concepts of the Enlightenment took years for Europeans to come up with, and there was so much focused unity due to geopolitics and topography and things like that in Europe. It's a unique environment. It's why you get a unique idea like that. But then this notion that you can just wander in to the Amazon and say, I am here to preach to you about John Locke is people are going to be like, sharpen your spears,
Excuse
because
me, sir, have you heard about John Stuart Mills?
yeah, I mean, it's
You
really, do you have a moment to speak about my Lord and Savior, John Stuart Mill? It isn't going to work.
That's pretty funny.
It would
Did
be
you
easier
hear-
to establish Kakistan.
It would be.
We can't have the Mises Institute have missionaries that go around on little bicycles. Just knock on people's doors.
Free
So-
market. Ding, ding,
Yeah, but
free
people
market.
have the attention span of memes at this point.
Yes.
Now, in terms
And they don't
of,
even get those.
well, we can. This is all. I mean, okay. The stuff that's been going on with Hunter Biden's third lost laptop.
Yeah.
I mean, we've sort of forgotten about that in all of this, but we can. It's so easy
That's
to
why
just
he
put
did this.
stuff together. You can have. You can start the film starting off with showing pictures of this, and then him saying Hunter Biden or Hunter is the smartest person I know. Then show some footage about the laptop. Then go back to his version of Benghazi, but 1,000 times worse. It's
Yes.
not hard to write the propaganda. All you need is a good candidate because you can't just run on being against something necessarily. You have to have a good candidate.
Yeah, you have to have some positive message. Yeah,
you have to have some positive message. You have to stand for something. You can't just be against everything. But this is going to damage him politically to the point where
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of the stuff that he's trying to do right now is going to be so much more difficult than it would have been otherwise. Because they've shown that they're not good managers. And that's the message that needs to be beaten on a lot. Now, if you look at the tracking, I saw something today where they were looking at the tracking of Biden's speech for Republicans, independents, and Democrats. The independents were not buying any of it. They
bet.
were
No.
only marginally more favorable toward him than the Republicans. I mean, you sort of expect Republicans just to say, you get an F across the board. Every now
Right.
and then they kind of were sympathetic and gave him a C.
I
But
saw this report too.
the
Yeah.
independents were just not having it. And
Yeah,
a lot
they
of the
gave 'em
focus-
F's and D's.
I know the focus is always, people often, when they look at electoral politics, they focus on Republicans and Democrats, but it's really that squishy middle that is the issue. And I think that, and maybe this is just projection because I kind of consider myself an alt-centrist, but I think a lot of the people in the middle are better read, possibly
Yeah.
paying attention a little bit more
That's why
because they're
in the
not
middle.
just being tribal. So I think you have to almost be actively independent to not become tribal. So I kind of think those people are going to respond really favorably against Biden in the upcoming elections, both the midterms and the 2024 when Kamala runs for re-election.
On that, one thing I'll never understand is people that don't look at both sides, like you said. I don't understand why, if you do a little research on both sides of, I'm going to go with my coin again, that
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah, Jenna,
knowledge is power,
yeah, it is.
but only
it-
one way knowledge
You
is
need,
ignorance.
yeah, and I mean, when you don't have critical thinking skills, it's very easy to be persuaded to pick a team and trust the team because they told you the things you wanted to hear. We all fall prey to that kind of allure in different aspects of our life. But
Yeah.
if it sounds too good to be true,
It's too good to be
it's
true.
too good to be true.
And
Yeah.
I have brain damage and know this.
Yeah, well, it's
If the product costs you nothing, you're the product.
yeah.
And on that note, real quick, I just realized it's after 1 o'clock for.
Yeah, it is. It's late. I'm so impressed with you for holding out and going. Thanks for hanging
Hey,
with
no
us tonight.
worries. Wednesdays with Skep tomorrow.
Wednesdays with Skep tomorrow. We're on for it.
Awesome.
Yeah, excellent.
Okay. So yes, there will be Wednesdays with Skep, and it will be also the last coffee stream this week because I'm heading off to see my best friend on Friday. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yay.
Good for you. So you get a vacation. You and
fun.
Prospero are both going on vacation. Excellent.
Yep. I'm
All
taking
right,
the
well-
train to see my friend.
Skep, it's you,
Well,
me,
honey,
and
I will see you in the morning,
Awesome.
and you get a good night's sleep, and
Okay.
we'll have le bon mot pour les Québécois tomorrow.
All right. Cool. Okay.
Sacre bleu.
Tabarnak. All
All
right.
right.
I'll
We
see you guys later.
see you later, hon.
Bye.
Good night, BP.
night.
Good night.
Night.
Too slow.
Yeah.
So- At any rate, I think that we are witnessing events that will be as consequential as our pull out of Vietnam, and will be talked about as much as our pull out of Vietnam. And this might actually really truly hurt the Democratic Party. It might fracture the Democratic Party because at some point a group of them are going to say, we can do better. We can do Democratic Party better than the people who are in charge of the Democratic Party.
Well, there are already fractured lines there between the progressive wing and the neolib crowd.
But the progressives are such weak thinkers. They can't do anything politically. The AOC is incapable of doing anything politically.
Yeah, the squad might be in positions of note, but they're not in.
They were put there by people like Nancy Pelosi.
Yes.
Who once said to AOC, Alexandria, a glass of water could win with a D next to its name wins this district over any Republican.
Yeah, don't think so highly of yourself, my dear.
Yeah, she absolutely did not get the message.
Of course she didn't, because she's absolutely.
But what I'm talking about is a more competent.
When do they cut
a more competent split of people saying, we're grown-ups too, and we don't like the way the other grown-ups are acting.
That's going to depend on when they yeet Joe, because
that's a good point.
One thing Harry was talking about, tracking the speech, they're going to be tracking their internal polling, and if there is a lot of negatives coming at them from, because they're squishy blue districts too, and they know that they saw blue areas vote for Trump, where they should have had locks. And there's, then you add to it the purpley swingy mishmash states. You have to look at those carefully, because they've got midterms coming up. And that party will get tarred by the brush of its leader. And they're not going to want that, because they want to at least maintain the power they have, if not increase that power. I think that's
going back to
less likely.
Going back to what Harry was saying, then the disapproval by independents of what's going on with the Democrats,
it's trouble.
Is trouble,
and
it's big trouble.
And the thing is, though, is they've got to try to get some internal polling on how those independents feel about Kamala, because the devil might be better than the devil you don't know. Actually, the dribbling idiot because if Kamala is loathsome to a large enough proportion of them, they will keep Joe in. If Kamala is neutral, and Joe is going very negative, and the concern amongst the natives being restless that Joe's incompetence is showing, they'll have to get rid of him and hope that they can buttress her through 2022 without her getting egg completely all over her face, because she doesn't know anything about foreign policy. And they might think that they can send her on a little tour of Europe as a freshly minted president to say, there's a new face in town and things are different. There was quite a bit of difference in the White House, and I'm new and I'm fresh and I'm squeaky, and some of those idiots would be bought off by it. Because also, ping, diversity box checked.
Good use of the purity language with Kamala.
Yeah.
Well,
it's boy. That's.
I think I see what you were trying to do.
Yeah.
And I appreciate
the issue
it.
is Captain Cackle isn't.
She's going to go over like a lead balloon.
On the Democrats. I mean,
no, she isn't. But Joe could become such a liability with the independents, Jenna.
Now,
the people that can be swayed, that they're going to have a terrible decision in front of them, because he's waning, and he's waning quickly.
Oh, and I understand that it's, kind of who's worse, the potted plant or the cackler.
You were going to say, Johnny?
well, I was going to say I'm not much certain about her. I really didn't have any clue who she was until the election cycle. But I think I had more faith in Christopher Reeve's ability to tame a horse over her political aspects.
She couldn't get a percentage point in the
No.
primaries. I mean, she's an intensely unlikable person, and God only knows what a mess things might be
It's a
inside.
sweet laugh.
Doesn't she?
Spectacular.
If
Spectacular.
it's Halloween, it's perfect. It was a debate. I mean, it's like,
And
oh
your
my
little
God.
dog too.
Honest to
We talk.
God, she seems positively rosy and friendly by comparison to Kamala, the Witch of the West does.
Yeah.
I mean, God, nobody has, who's benefited from this incompetence is actually Pelosi, because we were all watching her come apart at the seams.
Yeah.
As the threads of her coat were being dissolved by the alcohol bath. But as far as quiet competency goes, and she's been keeping a low enough profile to
Well, you actually
not draw
you
lightning.
You just keyed a thought happened in my old brain. How surprising! What would this could have political effects. What's going on right here, to where wouldn't it be interesting if the Democrats lost both houses of Congress?
Yeah, wouldn't it?
Kamala in the White House with no Congress.
With a hostile, she'd just be executive order freak. It would be
Exactly.
and it would be one lawsuit after another, and it would just be toxic.
I wonder if they'd impeach her.
To get rid of her?
Yeah, just to get rid of her, just to nuke her.
Yeah,
Just like they did with Trump.
Well, the problem is they'd have a dog in that hunt, because it would depend on who she picked as her vice president.
Yeah,
because that's going to be oof.
I know.
Oof. I mean, she didn't have very many friends,
Is
and
AOC old enough to be vice president?
No. Oh, she's old enough to be
thank God.
president next term, but
Yeah,
there
yeah.
isn't a hope in hell of that. I mean, everybody will know that one was stolen.
You better hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's nationally very prominent. She's
She is
high name recognition.
very, very high name recognition. There's a side of me that if I lived a couple light years away would find that utterly hilarious.
Yeah,
because it would be like, you just imagine the PBS series on this that would rival I, Claudius. I would not want to be in the boardroom trying to make these decisions.
Mhm.
And that's another thing. We haven't even discussed Main Street and Wall Street's responses to the fraying in the White House, because there's, and by that I mean the money pipeline to the DNC, because eventually some of those people are going to get edgy, and they're going to start putting pressure.
I predict a bigger effect on Main Street than Wall Street.
Oh, much so. Yeah, Wall Street doesn't give a shit.
Wall Street is all about making money.
Yeah, they're just
all they care about.
They're doing their own thing. They don't give a rat's ass who's in the White House. They used to. They really used to matter, but I tell you that instant electronic trading really changed everything. Absolutely,
did.
Completely changed the landscape of the way Wall Street behaved.
Yeah.
It also meant that you have hysterical brokers, but it
no longer exiled to the NASDAQ.
Yeah.
Everything is NASDAQ now, basically.
Yeah.
Even listed stocks.
Yeah, it's very, very weird. All the things that I had come to expect out of the market disappeared. And so you get a tachycardic market now whenever you have instability.
Well, there's also electronic auditing.
Yeah.
The specialists and the floor brokers who do the work at the exchanges. Yeah, just the same way that the traders, the OTC traders, old OTC traders, used to be audited. And but that never happened before. The night I passed the brokerage exam, I partied down in the basement of the American Stock Exchange. And one of the guys I was drinking with was a specialist. He was, no, I'm sorry, he was a floor broker. He's a Merrill Lynch floor broker. And he took us up to the deserted floor of the American Stock Exchange. We had our drinks. We were having cocktails on the deserted floor of the American Stock Exchange at like 11 o'clock at night. And we were looking through the specialists' books that they left on their desk with the orders, with tomorrow's orders. We could have, had we wanted to lose our licenses, gamed the market a little bit and made some very advantageous trades if we'd wanted to.
Yeah.
Those days, Prospero, are gone.
Absolutely
Gone.
Gone. It's an entirely, all it is push a button, and it's I don't think it's the healthiest way of managing a market, but it's what we're stuck with right now until the whole thing fucking falls apart and we have to start over. But back to
the effect on Main Street. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on.
I don't know how the big donors to the DNC are going to feel if, and so many of them are known as big donors.
Yeah.
And it's hit the fan and shit's going to get spread around. And they're not going to want to have themselves linked in any way to bad news. Particularly if they're trying to seduce aspects of the market or seduce money out of the venture capitalists and that kind of thing. Because that's, if your reputation is backing a shitty horse, it's gonna damage your ability to leverage the kind of deals you want. Yeah. And these guys live off that adrenaline rush.
Right.
They've already got all the fuck you money they need. But and also at certain aspects of the press, when WAPO is getting fractious and CNN is getting MSNBC is wackadoo land. Everybody knows that. But when you start looking at the lack of cover being provided the Biden administration, the Washington Post is
seeing the Post start to we're really questioning,
whatever happened to Pravda. They didn't get the memo, and it's funny because I saw some of the Blue Anon people on Twitter basically yelling at the Washington Post, "Get your story straight. This is Trump's fault."
Yeah,
and
still blaming Trump. Orange man bad.
Yeah, and after a certain point, that's going to run out of steam. Well, every day, the manufactured hashtags that are being pushed, they're getting a little desperate. I've just noticed that on Twitter because, so many, I don't know why they think that they're going to get the NPCs by doing this shit on Twitter because they're just all playing to their little niche.
I have a Twitter question.
Uh-oh.
So the Taliban is allowed on it?
Yeah.
Allowed on what?
But
on Twitter?
Trump isn't?
Yes, they have a Twitter account.
Yeah, of course they are. They never said the mean words that he said.
Yeah.
I did not know that. That is fantastic.
Taliban. It has the number 33 in it in the handle. I'll tell you what it is real quick.
But their tweets are less mean than Trump's were. So.
Yeah.
That's why.
Well, they basically use it to announce stuff.
Like, haha, look what we've taken.
I looked it up yesterday. I'll find it here in a minute. But talk amongst yourselves.
Well, the other thing I saw today was this business about, the rumbles among our European allies of, where they're upset, with how Trump's handling things. And Biden is handling things and judges. And it's like, well, I thought, wait a second. Whatever happened to America's back, and they were so glad that you were warned. Anybody with any seriousness in Europe among the leadership that's doing any complaining about this, you were fucking warned. Don't even try it. Don't even try it. The vegetable came to your neighborhood and you all made pretty like he wasn't a vegetable. You've all met Dr. Lady Macbeth. Tell me you didn't think this was going to... what the hell? It's like there's this little globalist cadre that are all virtue signaling to one another. And I almost don't get the point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't get the point because it's like some kind of weird kabuki that they're only performing for themselves.
Yeah.
My sister actually thinks Lady Macbeth doesn't want to be the first lady or doing any of this stuff, and she's only doing it because she loves her husband that much and is supporting his dreams.
Oh, bless her heart.
Yeah,
Christmas at the White House is going to be
and
great.
Anna Nicole Smith really loves her husband too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Harry, what did you say?
I just said Christmas at the White House is going to be great. She's going to get at least one White House Christmas before they give up. I don't care if they have to duct tape him to a gurney and pull him out. She's going to get one Christmas as first lady.
I'm waiting to see the outfit. The funny thing is that people got pictures.
So she's a snappy dresser.
People got pictures of her leaving Hawaii, where she supposedly injured her foot. Yeah. And she was wearing wedge heels. And they were like,
with the injured foot.
And now she has the injured foot. And what on earth was that baby doll dress she was wearing with the boot? Age appropriate.
Some bizarre sexual fetish.
Because he likes little girl. Oh, didn't say that.
Didn't hear it.
Yeah. Because it was the damnedest. It was too. Okay, look, the woman's legs are in decent shape. She obviously works out. And for her age, her legs don't look as crepey and creepy as some old folks' legs do. But she ain't no spring chicken. And wearing this bottom ruffled damn baby doll.
Yeah, school
almost
dress,
transparent summer dress.
Yeah.
In all white, which just cracks me up.
Yeah.
Anytime that woman puts on white, it's like, that's like my picturing Kamala going to the dentist to get her teeth realigned because of all. Never mind.
Yeah. All right. But by the way, I did look up the name of the Twitter account that the Taliban uses, and it's Zabihullah M33, and that's ZABEHULAH _ M as in Mike 33. Zabihullah M33, and that is the Twitter account. It's got about 250,000 followers or something that the Taliban uses to announce things. Basically, that's mostly what they do. Conversation killer.
No, I just wanted to make sure.
Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to make sure I was following them.
So anyway, we're getting to the time of the evening where I usually go around and ask anybody if they have any final thoughts to wring the last little bit out of their brain. And I'll start with Jenna because I always start with Jenna.
I just looked up the dress,
I beg your pardon.
I just looked up Jill's
Dress. Yeah.
dress,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
my
With trick shoes or something. Or
thought is, why the hell are these people wearing masks? They're vaccinated.
okay. Fair enough. We don't want to put out medical misinformation here.
no,
And of
that's
course,
not
we
my-
love masks, and we think masks are
Masks
really
are
important.
wonderful. She needed to
things.
wear a white one to
Plenty of
match her dress.
vaccinations. Everyone should be vaccinated 70, 80, 1,000 times.
But you should always wear a white mask if you're wearing a white semi-transparent baby doll dress when you're a 70-year-old
Yeah.
woman.
Because
Although
accessories
she
are a
should have
thing.
been going to match her boot.
Only
I think I just
after
threw up in my
Labor
mouth a
Day.
little.
Only after Labor Day can you go to your black mask, madam.
Very good.
Yes.
I don't even know what to say. All right. Johnny, talk to us. Any final thoughts, bud?
A couple announcements.
Sure.
Being that we have shown the room where Joe Biden will be spending his after eternity. I never thought, he'd be set for Circle 7, but he brought his own auger and he's going straight to 9.
Okay. He's going to hang out with Satan in the 9th level, which is actually the closest level to heaven.
And yeah,
if you're a careful reader of Dante's Inferno, the 9th level is closest to heaven. So because Satan wants to hear the echoes of his denouncement from heaven, which can still be heard in that space.
and,
Very good.
Gandhi has been moved to 3.
All right, Sora, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. If it's not one thing, it's another thing that's going wrong in the world these last couple of years, and this is it'll be very interesting to see the next few days of what's going on. When asked about what human rights for women will be like, the Taliban leader said, well, women will have rights, full rights as women do have under Islamic law. So what I'd like to know in the next little while is how they interpret Islamic law.
Yeah, and they basically
Because-
throw out all the stuff in Surah 3 and Surah 4 about women's rights. They basically throw it right out the window.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
the community property, the providing for, educating, all that stuff. No, fuck that.
An educated woman, as with any other person, an educated person in general can be a very dangerous person. So it'll be like Iran in the 70s,
Right. You're
but
not
in
you're not wrong.
2001.
Yeah, only more amputations.
Uh-huh.
I would agree with you. The happy days are here again. Harry, final
Want
thoughts,
serious?
my bud.
Serious or funny?
Both.
Oh, damn. Okay. What you were just talking about reminded me of an episode of the show Dinosaurs, where the executive BP Richfield calls in Earl Sneed Sinclair because his wife had a TV show on public access, and he said the following thing to him. He said, Sinclair, your wife's show has given my wife ideas, and my wife's head is no place for ideas. That's sort of what it was reminding me of with the thing.
Love it.
As far as the serious thing goes, multiple things have weakened the impression of the American military. We're turning into a joke because of all this woke stuff in the military. And then you follow it up with what looks like, on the surface, that we've lost the ability to plan militarily.
Yeah.
Even me, who doesn't know anything, would have at least been importing thermite into the region for a very long time and would have had a plan to destroy the weapons rather than leave them behind. It
Right.
doesn't require it. If that's, I can come up with that idea just off the top of my head. They must have somebody there who knows about things like this. Who understands which parts you take out of the drones before you leave.
That's a very, very big conversation, a very important conversation. I thought.
Well, we would need to get somebody on who actually knows more about this stuff instead of me just being kind of an asshat. So, but if you look at the other things that are going on in the world, and us as the world hegemon,
Mhm.
we're not looking so good right now. This is a huge black eye and a kick to the groin on TV that we've
Yes.
just suffered.
And the
I
world is
think
standing
you need
around laughing.
There are people in this world who will try to take advantage of our perceived weakness. Whether
You mean
we
like
are weak or not,
China's
I don't know.
invasion of Taiwan?
China's invasion of Taiwan. I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm just saying it just became a lot more likely.
Yeah, I agree with you completely.
And that's just that's just the first thing that comes to mind. We seem to have lost the ability to do diplomacy. Surprisingly, Trump bringing in former executives from like oil companies and things, we actually did surprisingly well. Look at all the peace agreements that got forged.
Absolutely.
I mean, he really exceeded my expectations because, I mean, admittedly, they were kind of low. But
Yeah.
I just don't see anything good happening with our current government in terms of foreign policy.
But
There
So,
is no foreign
definitely
there is
keep
no
your
foreign
head-
policy.
Yeah,
right now.
keep your eyes open on what's happening in other parts of the world now, because I think we're in a much more dangerous position than we were before.
You're not wrong. I agree with you completely.
Power.
Yeah. Prospero, final thoughts.
There's a side of me that thinks General Milley should be court-martialed for dereliction of duty.
I'd just shoot him.
Well,
I mean, with a camera, Susan. God
Yeah.
damn it.
Yeah.
after he's court-martialed, feel free. I think the Pentagon has covered itself in shit. Like Harry said, just making sure you could disable the crap on your way out is important. It's sorry, Taiwan. Sorry, Ukraine. That's about all I've got to say.
Yeah, I hear you. All right. Well, with that, we'll wrap up this evening. I want to thank my panel for being friends of mine and coming out and supporting the show and being willing to discuss a desperately serious topic this evening. And thank you, chat, for coming out. We do this for you, and we love you. And come join us again on any night of the week is a Minion night, and we just have a good time here at Minions. Usually it's a little bit more jocular and funny, but tonight the humor was dark, and so in keeping with that spirit, I'll end with something a little bit dark. A bit of doggerel from Rudyard Kipling. Yeah, you know which one it is, Prospero.
Yes.
I know you know. When you're wounded and left on Afghanistan's plains and the women come out to cut up what remains, just roll to your rifle and blow out your brains and go to your God like a soldier. Because it's not going to be pretty what happens next, but further discussion will have to be left for another night because the zoo is closed. Good night, everybody.
Good
Night,
night.
Good night.
guys.